Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It is the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. How many times can I tell you, I told you so? I don't know, as many as it takes. Glad you guys are with me. 844-551-8255. If you are sick of the liberal crap that they try to sell you on a day-to-day basis, then you have found mama's milk. Because I'm telling you right now, liberals need to shut the heck up when it comes to talking to us about policy. We watched them for 8 years usher in bad guy after bad guy, whether it was Mexican banditos in the form of MS-13 or El Salvadorans or whatever, Islamic terrorists living in our midst, and they want you to believe that they know stuff like global climate change is the number one terror thing in the world. Oh my gosh, global climate change, let's put some money there. The number one terror in America and the world is leftism. There is no doubt about it. There is no debate. If you bring leftists into your midst, you are bringing in the enemy. You are introducing pancreatic cancer into your body. That's all they're good for, is killing your economy, killing your community, killing your country, your state, your county, you name it. You bring liberals in and you will die. Oh, Kevin, those are harsh words. You're such a mean-spirited conservative. No, I'm a truth teller. Go look at your cities. Go look at these iconic, what used to be iconic places you would want to go visit. Paris, London, Luxembourg, Brussels, name any one of them, and you will find terror. And more importantly, you will find terror attacks, and you will find terror attacks waiting to happen throughout all of Europe. Oh, I know, Kevin, you're racially profiling. You're religiously profiling. You're doggone right I am. Racially, religiously, call it whatever you want. If it makes you feel better to say, oh, Kevin's profiling, he's a mean-spirited guy or whatever, do whatever you need to do. But let me tell you what, this black man gets it. And so do you. Stronger gun laws. That's what we need. It's the guns. Oh, really? What about the trucks? I mean, have we not seen enough truck attacks? What do they call trucks? They call them lawnmowers. ISIS calls trucks lawnmowers. The bigger the truck, the bigger the lawnmower. They're just wreaking havoc in our community. And by the way, this is the world community. I'm going to go into the numbers here in a bit. I'm about to make some liberals have to squirm. See, they want you to think that you're silly. Oh, you're out there profiling with the diversity we're trying to create with the Muslims, and you're out there profiling. Yeah, I'll talk to you about diversity. I'll talk to you about diversity here in a bit. Because, see, here's what I will tell you is a spoiler alert. The most diversity exists in the very countries that everybody's talking about creating diversity. Nobody is talking about the diversity in Somalia. Nobody is talking about the diversity in Yemen. Yeah, leftists, where's your diversity there? Countries that are 90-something% Yemeni or 90-something% Somalian or whatever, Somali. And Kevin, why would we be talking about? Yeah, you aren't talking about diversity there because nobody gives a crap about those countries. Nobody wants to go. But you'll bring up, we need multiculturalization here. Let me tell you where we need multiculturalization, you liberal morons. We need multiculturalization where there's monolithic thought, where they believe in the abuse of women, where they believe that they can stone women and do vaginal mutilation and a host of other things and treat women as second-class citizens, where they believe that their religion is superior to ours and therefore we are entitled to be killed or treated any way we want, where they believe in rape culture. I would say they need your help, not us. We understand how the real world works. America, folks, believes in human rights. I know some of you don't. I know some of these leftists out there listening to this program do not believe in human rights. They only believe in leftist rights. They're worse than the Muslims. They would like to see us destroyed. Why? Because we believe in our Bible. They hate that as much as the Muslims. They don't want to tell you the truth about it. The LGBT community hates your religious fanaticism that actually believes that the world should be peaceful. That actually believes that God is a living God and a loving God. They hate that. They hate you believe that. They hate that you want to hold them accountable for their indulgence, their sexual indulgence. How dare you hold me accountable for the way that I want to have sex? I don't. And maybe, you know what, if you believe that God doesn't, believe what you want. I don't care. They want to believe things about us. They want to treat us like crap. And they will bring in the very people that want to see them dead. So do the left. They think by hating Christianity, the Muslims are going to go, well, it's okay. You hate Christianity. So, we're all good. Yeah, see how that's working out? Germany. See how that's working out? France. See how that's working out? London. This guy, it's so funny. These people are walking and living among us, waiting. I love what they said about this guy. I don't know how to say his name. Saipov. They say, nobody knew. He didn't fit the profile. Really? So we'll talk about that. Gun laws would have changed this, though, right? Yeah, because, let me tell you how gun laws would have changed this. Maybe the New York Police Department would learn how to shoot so they could have killed this dude. Because they just wounded him. In Texas, he'd be dead. Yeah, but now, are we going to talk gun laws? They had BB guns or something. It was fortunate that they weren't able to get the guns. They only had pellet guns or whatever. That's what the left will probably tell us. Now, let me tell you what would have been fortunate. If New Yorkers had a gun and they had popped these dudes before, this minute they started mowing people over, somebody pulled out a weapon and said, pop, 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 and that's the end of it. And maybe, instead of 8 people dying, we would have had what? 2 or 3? Short break. We'll be back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville. Can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. I have a very simple question for you now that you're here at the Blackspear University. Chancellor Kevin Jackson. I teach all the classes. Professor, how many more terror attacks need to occur in America before leftists admit that they're wrong? Now, see, I asked this question earlier in the week about other aspects of what we do here in America. I asked this question. I said, how many other things need to happen politically for the left to admit that they were wrong about Barack Obama? So I'll ask that question again. Leftists, you watch Barack Obama legislate for 8 years. He was the leader. Now, the terror attack in New York is a legacy of Barack Obama and other leftists like Chuck Schumer. Now, 8 years of Barack Obama, we've watched terror escalate to levels that you probably don't even know about, and I'm going to talk about later in the broadcast. But you know the difference. The number of terror attacks under George Bush was substantial, but it escalated under Barack Obama. I'll give you the numbers here in a minute. So as you're evaluating Barack Obama's, gift to America, and I'm talking about this from a leftist perspective, losing over 1,000 Democrat positions, bankrupting people, creating suicides on Obamacare, looking at his treatment of veterans, letting them die on waiting list and doing nothing, ignoring the deaths, plural, of 4 people in Benghazi and letting his Secretary of State and his National Security Advisor skate on it. And I could go on. When you reflect on him, are you willing to admit that you were wrong? Barack Obama said that the number one thing facing America, the number one catastrophe, our biggest fear should be global climate change. Do you feel like that this morning? When you go out and you see the seasons doing what they do, it's fall now, the leaves have changed, and we're getting ready to set up for the winter solstice. Do you really feel like global climate change is the bigger issue? Or do you think that maybe you're riding a bike in New York and getting mowed down by what ISIS calls lawnmowers? That would be a truck. You think maybe there's some fear there? You think New Yorkers are starting to go, you know what? We might want to take a look at where we are and what we're doing. I'll tell you this. When my son goes out on his bike, we went out on a bike ride. And one of the things that was going through my mind as we're following along the little bike path that they've nicely set up where we live, we're vulnerable. It's lined in the street. You want to know where we rode? The sidewalk. And I wasn't comfortable there. But you can't let life go through. You got to live your life. But I will tell you, I would not let him ride in the street. And I was very concerned of what could potentially happen to him and the rest of the family, for that matter, if somebody just willy-nilly decided, you know what, it's easy to take these guys out. I was thinking this, no lie, a week ago. And then it happens in New York. I hope that, I got to watch the way I think, apparently. But what the gist of this is, and I'm going to go back to my original question, how many more attacks? And this is what you need to ask a leftist today. How many more terror attacks before you finally admit that we are right when it comes to Muslims, refugee resettlement, our immigration policy, and a host of other things? And don't let them get out of the answer. Ask them, do the lives of the 8 people who were killed mean anything to them? What about the people who were injured? I always focus on them. And let me tell you why. Because they have to live with whatever happened. And let me tell you something. 8 people's lives, they're done. They don't even have a say in what they now think about the Muslim resettlement, refugee resettlement, and this multiculturalism that everybody seems to be so caught up in the liberal sphere, whatever you want to call it. But the people who are left over and the people who witnessed it, I want to know what those New Yorkers now think about the Muslim issue. Are they going to gloss it over and go, come on, it's just one of those things that happens? Because that's what we were told. Barack Obama told us, well, look, you're going to have these kinds of issues as Islam works through its issues. We don't have these kind of issues as Christians work through their issues. This is a holy war being fought from one side. And what the leftists want you to do is turn the other cheek. You don't need to turn the other cheek. If you want to live the way Muslims live, get out of this country. Get out. And I'm going to tell you, if that makes me politically incorrect to say it, so be it. Get out of this country. I don't want to go live where you live and change your laws. If you want to beat women and you want to burn them and you want to rape women and kids and do whatever it is you do, then fine. Who am I to say? Let the UN deal with that. But that's not our culture. When it comes to multiculturalism, I don't want that. And that's even tough to say, given we've got people like Rosie O'Donnell and Hillary Clinton and Ashley Judd and many others. But I don't want that. When are they going to admit they're wrong? I asked this question of Hollywood. When is Hollywood going to admit how big of a hypocrite Hollywood is? These people are nothing but hypocrites, full of them. They're the very people who've asked for these Muslims to come to town. They're the very people that talk about gun control. They're the very people that talk to you about the war on women. And look at all of it that's going on. Look at what's been revealed. See, let me tell you, I ain't trying to be all preachy. God is revealing stuff to you, to America, to the world. He's saying, look at your Sodom and Gomorrahs, you with your bad selves, you leftists. God is chuckling at these leftists going, see, I've been telling you. Yeah, they want to talk about Allah and we can't be racially profiled and we can't be religiously profiled. It's just a horrible thing, whatever. Let me tell you something. When Muslims stop killing people, I'll be happy to, I don't care what religion you want to practice. You could be Wiccan. You could be Buddhist. The Buddhist. Look, I don't understand Buddhism. It's strange to me. That doesn't mean it's strange necessarily, but it's strange to me. Okay? I don't care what Buddhists, for all I could care, could believe that the big belly is the center of the universe. For all I care, I don't care what they believe in Buddha. I happen to like Buddha's bald head. That's just a personal thing. But whatever you believe, it's fine. But because you want to know why I'm accepting of Buddhism? Because they ain't trying to kill me. These people are like, yeah, Kevin, we don't even kill a bug. Okay, great. Congratulations. I kill bugs. We differ. The Buddhists don't try to get after me. You're killing bugs. Oh, we must kill you now. We got more on these radicals when we come back, folks. Keep it here.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
The two sources tell investigators ran Saipov through their databases after the attack, and his name popped in connection to a handful of individuals who are already known to law enforcement as part of a broader terrorism investigation. It's not clear from our reporting this morning whether it was a single case or multiple cases or whether the cases remain open, but Fox was told Saipov had close ties and, quote, the group he ruled with was known to law enforcement before the attack. After an initial review, the evidence points to an ISIS-inspired, not ISIS-directed attack, with the suspect following the ISIS-Al-Qaeda playbook to a T for using vehicles as weapons. Recent online propaganda instructed followers to use trucks, then launch a second attack using knives or guns, and to leave evidence at the scene linking the attack to the terror group, which is what happened in this case. This morning, the Republican chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee was asked about reports he came into the U.S. through a diversity program.
The lottery system, I've always been against it because it's a random system to bring people into the United States. It's not merit-based. Why aren't we, scrutinizing people over there before they can even get into the country with a higher vetting system, putting ICE agents over in consulate and embassy offices?
Source close to the matter says that based on the electronic evidence so far, the suspect was actively searching online for ISIS instructions for using vehicles as weapons. Sandra.
Catherine, has there been a claim of responsibility yet?
Well, there's been no official claim of responsibility through the ISIS media branch known as the Amaq News Service. But it's significant that known ISIS accounts, what counterterrorism analysts call leadership accounts, are applauding the attack, showing photos of the attack, and using an unusual hashtag at the slap of terrorism. We reviewed some of the online translations, and they refer to the ISIS spokesman al-Adnani, who was killed in a 2016 airstrike. And these posts talk about seeking revenge for his death.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. It's amazing what you can glean from things when you don't really know all the information. For example, I knew this was a terror attack by Muslims. You knew it too. We'll get more into that. But I want to talk about what Catherine, I forget her last name, but what she had to say about this attack. She says, number one, this guy was known to law enforcement through a broader terror investigation. Now, recall, I don't know when exactly it was, but it's been a few years back. We were told that we don't know where a lot of the terror suspects that we knew were coming into the country. We don't know where they are. But this guy's known through a broader terror investigation. Which brings me to another point. His mosque was under surveillance in 2005. So let's talk about that. A lawsuit got filed in the district court in Brooklyn by the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, and others. And they maintained that for more than a decade, suspicionless surveillance of Muslims has violated the Constitution and profoundly harmed thousands of people whose names were placed in secret police files. The second, which was filed in Manhattan, said that the spying violated a set of rules known as the Handshoe Guidelines that govern how the police in New York may investigate political and religious activity. The settlement, which is subjected to approval by a judge, or was at the time, required that police obtain factual information about possible unlawful activity before starting a preliminary investigation into political or religious activity, and will limit the police department's use of undercover operatives and confidential informants. Now, I'll put it to you another way. This rule wasn't written for Christians. It wasn't written for churches. It wasn't written for the Tea Party. The spying that police are doing was in conjunction with surveillance of bad guys. And if you were a bad guy and you were doing something through your let's say your social club, then that's how they did it. They set this thing up because of the conspiracy of mafiosos and people like this. Now, I'm not telling you that the government doesn't stretch this stuff out and say, hey, the Tea Party group should be under surveillance. Surveil us. Surveil the Tea Party. Surveil the church. Bring somebody in, listen to what the pastor says, and you'll hear pastor. I've been going to church for many years, for decades. My pastor, all of them, none of them have ever said, Kevin, you should be radical. This government sucks. No. The Tea Party doesn't say that. The Tea Party is pro-government. We're pro-small government. We're pro-accountable government. We're pro a government that will actually listen to its people and not become a bunch of elitists that feel like they're above the law, which is what we have. But we're not anti-government. Even the use of the term militia. When the government starts fighting against its citizens, you've got the wrong type of government. Say the name Tea Party up on Capitol Hill, and you get people, those Tea Party people. The Tea Party people are the best people on the planet. Why do you think I bought Tea Party Community and started that social media firm calling it Tea Party Community, knowing that I'm going to change the way people view those two words, Tea Party? Are you kidding me? Anyway, so this guy's mosque is under surveillance because they believe something's going on. And yet, what happens? He ends up renting a truck and mowing down people. They said, I love this part. For the first time, the watershed settlement put much needed restraints on law enforcement's discriminatory and unjustified surveillance of Muslims. This is what Hina Shimsi, director of the ACLU's National Security Project, said. At a time of rampant anti-Muslim hysteria and prejudice nationwide, this agreement with the country's largest police force sends a forceful message that bias-based policing is unlawful, harmful, and unnecessary. Anti-Muslim sentiment. Let me tell you something. I don't have anti-Muslim sentiment. I have anti-Islamic radical sentiment that happens to include a bunch of Muslims. There's a difference. See, when I see a Muslim, I don't go, there's my enemy necessarily. I say there's somebody that's got a mixed up form of religious ideology. But I don't go, I don't like you. I treat Muslims with the same amount of respect as I treat anybody else. But if I were telling you I don't watch them and pay attention, I'd be lying. I watch every one of those dudes. Women and children, all of them. I watch them. I listen to what they say. I'm very careful about my son and his interaction with him. I make sure he understands what to listen for. I don't tell him to go there biased. My son plays with Muslim kids. The last school he went to, we watched that school go from, I don't know, less than 10% Muslim to 30% in a couple of years. It's crazy how fast they're growing in St. Louis. So this idea that it's an anti-Muslim sentiment is a lie. The Muslims have an anti-American sentiment, and that is a fact. They didn't come here because they love us and they want to embrace our culture. They came here to get our money until they can take over our culture. That's the truth. You can get mad about it. Oh, Kevin, you seem very biased. I'm not biased. I'm just telling you the facts. A forceful message of bias-based policing. Are you kidding? They said the monitoring was extensive. The police identified and mapped more than 250 mosques in and near New York State. Just the fact that there are 250 mosques in or near New York State, to me, is amazing. And you can bet, this report was done in the middle of 2016. You can bet there's a ton more. And get this, though. Of the 250 mosques in or near New York State, they said that 53 of them were mosques of concern. That is 20%, more than 20% of the mosques built in or around New York State are mosques of concern. Think about that. So they're mad because these guys took down license plates. They posted, cameras to watch the people and their interactions. And then what do we get? We get the Boston bombing. We get San Bernardino. We get Pulse nightclub. And you know what's interesting about most of those attacks? They say the same thing. Who knew? Who knew? Who knew that crazy Muslim would do that? Live right next to him. I had no idea. Well, there was a lady that I heard in that video we played. She's like, I live next door to him. I don't know if you know that. Maybe she didn't say it, but she does. She was his neighbor, the neighbor of this guy that just ran over and killed 8 people. And she didn't know. Who knew? Oh, my goodness. Somebody knew. It should scare you when they say things like this. He didn't fit the profile. Really? He was married. He had 2 kids. He was gainfully employed. Oh, really? But his mosque was under surveillance and he was known to law enforcement. But he didn't fit the profile? And he's a Muslim male.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. I mentioned the Muslim attack yesterday. Only covered it in one segment because I wanted to get to a bunch of other stuff that we had brewing. And today we are taking a much deeper dive into the Muslim attack. Muslim terror attack. ISIS inspired, use vehicles as weapons, and part of the ISIS strategy is you use a vehicle as a weapon, then in your second attack you get out with your knives and your guns and you do more carnage. Oh, and you leave an evidence trail because we want people to know this was an ISIS inspired attack. And the guy followed it to the letter of the law. And what's funny, they didn't say it at first. It was like, well, there was an attack in New York. And it took them, I don't know, an hour or two before they finally admitted it was a terror attack. We all knew it from the beginning. If you're smart, you knew it. Because if it was Vegas giving you odds on whether attack where they ran over bicyclers with a truck in a major city was a terror attack, and they said, what kind of odds do we put on this? I would say you're probably looking at 73-1. If you got good odds. If they were being truthful, it's 1,000-1. Because there was that one attack somewhere where a person accidentally hit the accelerator versus the brake, or, you know, the truck went out of order or something like that where some people got hurt. There was that one accident where everybody was like, oh my goodness. And I wrote about it and said, if you were like me, your first reaction was, it was a Muslim terror attack. And then it turned, and I mean, it was in the middle of nowhere. It's like in Utah. And so that was the only tip that maybe this one you got wrong, Kev. And it turned out that it wasn't a Muslim terror attack. But we all thought it. And there are people feeling guilty because they thought that, oh, Kevin, yeah, I kind of did, but you don't have to bring it up. What, you feel guilty for having a real human emotion based on true observation of what goes on in the world? And that makes you feel guilty? Wow, I bet you feel guilty that you happen to enjoy, you know, sex with your wife or your husband. How does Kevin know that? My goodness. People feel guilty over the craziest of things. You feel guilty for a real human emotion that's based on fact, not even conjecture. You're not Islamophobic because when you hear of a terror attack and you go, oh my goodness, it's probably a Muslim. There I go again. I can't stop myself. Well, you're not going to get any sympathy from me, and you're never going to get an apology. The guy wanted to kill Americans, infidels. And you know what the left said? Well, Kevin, that Donald Trump travel ban wouldn't have helped. Uzbekistan wasn't on there. Well, maybe it should have been. Maybe we need to expand the travel ban. How about that, princess? ISIS, they say, is applauding the attack. They've got a new hero. Donald Trump is absolutely whooping their heads, so they got to find something to be, you know, smiling about. And as they, I don't know, sit in their caves with their goat wives, trying to figure out what's their next move. Man, this is so pathetic. Leftists drive me crazy. Not in, I mean, they like to think they get to me, but it's just true that they do not. They don't get to me. I just find them, to say ignorant is not even I can be more profound than calling them ignorant. Even morons. They are all of that. So let's talk a little bit more about this Muslim. First of all, he didn't die. Shame on the police for not being better shots. Shame on somebody for not putting this dude. Well, we wanted to get more information out of him. Pfft, whatever. You're not going to torture him. So what's he going to say? I will not speak to you. I did this in the name of Allah. Allah Akbar. Well, I love when they tell us he didn't fit the profile. That's what I talked about a little bit last segment. He didn't fit the profile. A Muslim man, probably I'm guessing under 30 years of age, full beard, got the look, the look of a jihadist. Oh, there you go, Kevin. There you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am. I'm profiling him. He's got the look. And they go, well, he was married with 2 kids. So what? And I love Uber. Uber says, well, we screened him for as best as we could, and we couldn't find anything. Yeah, you found something. His name was Agula Wahaha, which I'll admit, he doesn't have the typical Muslim name because he's Uzbekistani. He's Saifullo Saipov. Saifullo Saipov. That's his name. It wasn't Muhammad. It wasn't Ahmed. It wasn't whatever. So I get it. They didn't quite understand. But they did. He passed the background check. Yeah. Well, you know what? There are hundreds of thousands of Muslims right now in America who've passed the background check, who are married. What do you think humans do? They get married. They have kids. They're dating people. Oh, I can't believe he did it. He was dating a girl. What? A young dude dating a girl blew up a church or blew up a cafe? I'm shocked that he was dating a girl and not a goat. Because I'm not shocked that he blew up the cafe. But they say he didn't fit the profile. What is the profile? If you continue to tell me they don't fit the profile, I think we need to change the profile. Oh, but then, Kevin, we'd be profiling. Yeah, but there's a profile that exists. What is it? Is it Catholic nuns? Is it Buddhist monks? What is it that fits the profile? Oh, well, he should have been single. He should have been radicalized by making a trip to Yemen or to some, terrorist training camp. What does it take? He doesn't fit the profile. Let me tell you why that should scare the crap out of you. Because they live right next to you. The next guy who's going to blow up something is a guy that gives you change from some 7-Eleven. Oh, wait, that's Pakistanis. Gives you change from some bodega in New York. That's going to be the next bomber. He's going to be somebody that you've given a job to that, you never razzed at work or whatever, but he didn't like you Christians and he got a job there, and he's going to come out on Christmas Day one day and he's going to kill all of you. That's what happened in San Bernardino. And the thing that bugs me also is this has the fingerprints of liberalism all over it. All over it. He came into the United States 7 years ago from Uzbekistan under the diversity visa program. Yeah. So he wasn't vetted. He got here through the lottery system. I ask a lot of my African friends, how'd you get here? Lottery? No, I was a political asylum. Or I was lotto, Kevin. Now it's easier with, in this case, the friend I'm thinking about, he's from Ethiopia, so he had to leave. He would have been killed if he'd gone back home. So they let him in. But there are people that get in on the lottery, and I've had friends of mine, again from Ethiopia. I got lucky. I got the lotto, but they didn't get vetted. He goes, I didn't get asked any more questions than anybody else. So we're letting people win the lotto in these terrorist countries because it's our way of saying, well, we're going to help them to become better citizens. Because liberals are like little teenage girls dating the bad boy. I'll change him. He'll change for me. Diversity Visa Lottery Program. Chuck Schumer brought this Yeah. Not even merit-based. So Donald Trump comes out and says, we're going to fight for merit-based immigration. No more Democrat lottery system. We got to get tougher and smarter. See, it used to be that way. It used to be. That's the way you got into this country. Every country, we would say, okay, we're going to allow you to pick who you want to come to America to learn from us and potentially go back home and help your economy, help your country. And countries would say, line them up, get our best people. Get our most studious. We're going to send them to the top schools in America. We're going to send them to where people, know how to live, and we're going to get them acclimated. And then these guys would come over here, and they had a contract to go back. Many of them didn't. They said, the heck with that. Shoot, I'm staying over here. I ain't going over there. And so, but a lot of them did. They'd go back. They built businesses. They did a lot of good things. They ushered in our form of a democratic republic, or at least the thinking, into their countries. And I'm all for that. But this system that we set up that said, hey, let's go to some third world armpit where they brutalize women and animals, farm animals, and let's bring them into our culture because we need to be multicultural. I'm never having sex with a sheep.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. We are talking about this Muslim murderer, yet another one. And here's what I'll tell you. So the news cycle is going to stay very full of Muslim murders, this Muslim murderer, and we're going to talk about it. And the left is going to spin it. And let me tell you, they're secretly happy that this is going on. It's hard to believe because remember, the Mueller story broke where he was going to prosecute Manafort. And the left were, he's going to prosecute Manafort. Look at Donald Trump better. Who he's next? Donald Trump. Not even mentioned. They don't even mention Trump in the 31-page indictment against Manafort. Trump's name doesn't even come up. So that went over, like a wet balloon. So that's out of the news cycle. Hillary Clinton and the crooked Uranium One deal is out of the news cycle. That's not good for the left. I mean, I should say that's good for the left. That's what I'm saying. I meant to say that the Uranium One, don't look at me like I'm crazy. I meant to say that the Uranium One deal is not good for the left. You're forgiven. My producer's telling me I was being unclear, and he's right. I'll admit it. He was right. So clearing it up, the Uranium One deal being in the news cycle is not good for the left. The idea that Podesta's brother stepped down and the Podesta group's being looked at, that's not good for the left. The fact that there are, I believe, 4 other indictments that are ready to come down by Manafort, by Mueller rather, is not good for the left. The fact that Barack Obama is also being implicated in this is not good for the left. The fact that we're talking about people like Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder and Bill Clinton having to come before Senate committees and testify is not good for the left. James Comey will find himself in the line of fire. That's not good for the left. By the way, they're also happy that this thing and all the things I just mentioned there took Harvey Weinstein in Hollywood out of the news cycle. That's not good for the left either. Having that stuff in the news cycle reminds people that the Clintons and the Barack Obamas were hanging out with old Harv. That he's one of them. That everybody, and we now know, everybody knew what Harvey was. Even if you weren't involved in Hollywood, you knew what Harvey was. And in fact, don't be surprised if Harvey hooked you up. Meaning, Harvey had a starlet come over and said, hey, I'll be hanging out with the president. Listen, if you'd like to come by for, a little drink, maybe we all, get in the hot tub. Who knows? I know Barack Obama didn't participate because he's He's a girly man. But Bill Clinton would be, I'll be right over. Hey, thanks for telling me, man. Yeah, you're a good guy. You're a good guy. I'll get you on Epstein's plane next time. These people are lecherous, man. They are horrible people. So all these things that we're talking about, this is leftism on display. I was supposed to go on TV, talk about Roland Martin just going off on General Kelly, because Kelly said something about we could have negotiated during the civil rights movement or whatever. And Roland Martin, negotiate? They thought of black people as 3/5 of a people. And I'm like, wow. For you guys' edification, black folks are mentioned not by this name, not by black folk, not by Negro, not even by slave. They were mentioned 3 times in the Constitution. The first time's in the enumeration clause, where they considered us 3/5 of a person. Now, the ignorant leftists say the Republicans and the founding fathers wrote what black people in as 3/5 of a person. And they don't understand that's a good thing for black people. It was a good thing. And they go, Kevin, what are you talking about? How can it be a good thing that you only work 3/5 of a person? Well, it was the enumeration clause. They were setting up the electoral Congress and all that. And they said to the South, who wanted black people to be considered 5/5 of a person. Yet they were treating us like 0/5 of a person. We were slaves. So the people who understood that if the South got to continue to bring in slaves and could outnumber the number of non-slave holding people, they would continue with slavery. So what the North did is said, no, you can't treat these people less than human and then want to count them as full humans. So they compromised with what's called the 3/5 compromise. And luckily for black folks, it was one of the things that stopped us from being slaves, because the South didn't have as much electoral power as the North did. Now, the North weren't being magnanimous. They weren't all, oh, yeah, we were fighting to make black people whole. No, they weren't. They were fighting for their financial lives. What they didn't want was the South to continue with slavery, which was going to put them out of business. The South was going to gain economic power over them. Now, the second place where where blacks are put into the Constitution was in Article 1, Section 9. In Article 1, Section 9 is where they said the slavery effectively is going to come to an end in 1808. This was all being done in 1798. So they said slavery goes to January 1st of 1808. We no longer import any slaves, period. That was the second part where blacks were mentioned. And the third place we were mentioned is in the Fugitive Slave Act, where if you were a runaway slave, you had to be returned to your property owner. That was it. But they, again, wrote it out. They said, okay, but when it comes 1808, we're done. Now, why did the Civil War get fought? Because the Democrats got all sneaky. And the Democrats said, we're going to get around that Article 1, Section 9 by doing this. We're going to say that the children of slaves are slaves. And the Republicans went, wait a minute, no, that you're trying to work on a technicality. And the Democrats, no. We have slaves and they're born into slavery, blah, blah, blah. And the Republicans were like, you can't go doing that. And the Democrats said, yes, we can. And Republicans knew, well, you know what? We're back to square one. We can't get rid of slavery. We cannot make a living if these people continue to want to have slavery. And we wrote slavery out, and they're trying to get by on a technicality. And they argued back and forth. And finally, we fought the Civil War over it. Now, you can argue, were we fighting over slaves? Were we fighting over the fact that it was a financial and economic issue based on the North? Take your pick. All Flynn wanted to say was they could have compromised and we could have avoided the Civil War and not let 600,000 people die.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. We've been talking about this terror attack and all the ancillary things surrounding it. The fact that we have terrorists in our midst. You have met a terrorist. Guarantee. You have walked by them, and the likelihood that you have interacted with somebody who is part of a terror plot in this country is pretty high. Very high probability. It's been brewing for a long time, and it's now on steroids because we've allowed the left to really take a foothold, get a foothold in all of this. See, we started this thing, this multiculturalism decades ago. And in fact, back in 1990, the diversity program, this diversity lottery that everybody's talking about right now, was introduced by Chuck Schumer, senator of New York. But at the time when he introduced this, he was a member of the House. And what he wanted to do was make a number of visas available to, quote, diversity immigrants from certain countries. And it was absorbed into a larger House immigration bill, which was sponsored by Schumer and 31 others, including many Republicans. And that bill got adopted. And we find ourselves now trying to make America more diverse. And I laughingly say to people, well, why are we doing this? We're already very diverse. We're probably one of the most diverse countries on the planet. I'd compare our diversity to any of these other countries' levels of diversity and have done so. Somebody explain to me what America is, and let's just use broad stroke numbers. So we're 13% black, we're 14% Hispanic, we're 30% white, and we're whatever the remainder is, other. And that other is many Muslims. It's every nationality of every type. Now, go look at the diversity of nations, the ethnic makeup of nations, and I've done it. I've talked about it before. Should we do it again? Why not? All right, so here's a report. This is not the report that I used before, but it's a different one. They measure what they call ethnic and cultural diversity. And number one ethnic diversity rank was Papua New Guinea. Now, this doesn't mean good news. This means that the people are homogeneous. It's based on the likelihood if they take a sample of one person out of X number of people that those two people are going to be the same. So 1 out of 10,000, right? Randomly selected, boom, they're the same. In Papua New Guinea, everybody's Papua New Guinea. In Tanzania, it's 0.953%. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, it's 0.933. In Uganda, it's 0.930. In Liberia, it's 0.899. I'm just going to round them up. In Cameroon, 0.9. Togo, 0.9. South Africa, 0.9. Congo, 0.9. Madagascar, 0.9. Gabon, 0.86 or 0.9. Kenya, 0.9. Ghana, Malawi. When it gets to 0.8, I'm going to move over. So 0.8. Malawi, Guinea-Bissau, Somalia, India, Nigeria, Yugoslavia, Central African Republic, Ivory Coast, Lebanon, Chad, Indonesia, Mozambique, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ethiopia, Angola, Mali, Afghanistan, Bolivia, United Arab Emirates, Senegal. Now we're down to 0.7. Okay, 0.7 is Bolivia, United Arab Emirates, Senegal, Zambia, Namibia, USSR, Sudan, Kuwait, Burkina Faso, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Kyrgyzstan, Nepal, Iran, Guinea, Kazakhstan, Colombia, Ecuador. Now we're into 0.6, Eritrea, Trinidad, Tobago. You get the picture? Here's the picture. The majority of if you want to go somewhere and have the likelihood of running into your doggone self, any of those countries I just mentioned would suit the bill. And we're only down to 50 countries when I get to Trinidad, Tobago. Then you get to the United States. We're 85th. We're halfway down. There's 192 countries essentially. And we're number 85 in this list of ethnic diversity. Now, that doesn't tell you the homogeneous nature of these countries. When you get into that, meaning how many people from Ethiopia are Ethiopians, how many people from Nigeria are Nigerians, and so on and so forth, the United States falls way down the list, well below half. So when you look at cultural diversity, you look at ethnic diversity, they're looking at them both together. When you look at cultural and ethnic diversity, we are amazingly culturally and ethnically diverse. It's crazy. And yet, all they do is criticize us. Constantly, we're told how we need to bring in more people or whatever else. Look, I can tell you this. If, let's say, Yemen or Iraq said, you know what, we need more cultural diversity, we'd like to import some white folks, I would love to see how many of these Holly weirdos, these Democrat socialist pigs, would be willing to sign up and get on that list to go live in Iran or Iraq. Yeah, I gave you a moment of silence so you could contemplate that. How many? How many do you think? Everybody that threatened to leave the country when Donald Trump became president should be forced to go live in one of these armpit rat holes that they so profess to love. Go live there. I'd love to see some of these Holly weirdo women go live in one of these Muslim countries and come back with 4 Muslim kids from forced pregnancies. Forced pregnancies too. You get where I'm headed. I think this is so ridiculous that we have these discussions. America's diverse. And if anybody needs more diversity, it's the rest of the world, not us. Every time I look at this art, things about this guy who committed these crimes against the New Yorkers, we find out he planned it, lots of people involved, ISIS connection, etc. And once you get beyond him personally, then you get into the left in all of this. Their complicit nature. Their program, introduced by Chuck Schumer, brought him over, ushered him in, no vetting, lottery system. And the lotto is, well, he's got to be good. I mean, we drew the lotto. So he comes over, he kills 8 people, wounds 12 others. The 12 others, they're going to have horrible things for the rest of their lives. Walk funny, talk funny. Who knows what their recovery is going to be? Do you think the left is going to care? Has anybody checked in to see what the victims of San Bernardino, the ones who lived, where they are? What about Post nightclub? You hearing any stories about these people? The aftermath of a Muslim shooting, a Muslim rampage. No. You think the Republicans are doing it? You think they're selling it? The answer is no.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Will you guys allow me to speak for you for just a moment and tell you I'm sick of the left? Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. So how you can reach us on the show. I wrote a book called Race Pimping, and it's so applicable to everything that's happening right now, right before your eyes. You can get my book at racepimping.com. It's a funny piece on all the things that are happening in the world today and how we allow them to happen based on one thing, race. Now, you can widen that a little bit and say, well, Kevin, what about sexism and what about, gender-based and things like that? Sure. But it all encompasses itself. The meaning of it remains the same. It was applied to blacks and expanded. The LGBT community watched how blacks did it and they took over. Women watched how blacks did it, they took over, and so on and so forth. Muslims are watching how blacks did it and they're taking over. You can get more and do less with leftism by just complaining. Forget going out and taking advantage of the American dream. That's so yesteryear. So blasé. Yeah. Why do that when you can get yourself a lobby, pretend to have a bunch of people who back you, and then move forward? Do you know how many people actually back the black leftist movement, Black Lives Matter and all that? It's such a small minority, it would blow your mind. The number of Muslims who actually believe the crap that they're selling to us is so infinitesimally small, it would blow your mind. When I'm talking about, it's not even 10% of their people. People argue the numbers, but probably safe to say it's 5%. With blacks, you'd be lucky if it's 5%. I mean, they really buy into the Black Lives Matter thing. It's not that many evangelizers. The women's movement. I'm talking about the way women want you to believe it, that men are all destructive and all that. You'd be hard-pressed to get 5% of women who truly believe it. I'm talking about, when I say truly believe it, I'm talking about live it. They live it. They practice what they preach. You can't find them. They're hard to spot. They know how wrong they are. It's easy to talk about it, but I'm a feminist. I hate this. I hate Donald Trump, says Ashley Judd, as she allows Harvey Weinstein to walk around freely. That's not living it. She's as far from a feminist as you can get. Hillary Clinton, same thing. I'm a feminist. I'm out here to help women. Meanwhile, her buddy, the dude who throws parties and Michelle Obama goes, we couldn't do it without Harvey Weinstein. He's the biggest womanizer on the planet, as is Bill Clinton, somebody they love, they adore. Everybody, ooh, Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton. They don't live it. They're liars. They tell you what they want you to believe about themselves, and they go live a completely different life. I understand them. Leftists are lying, lecherous people. They want you to believe. They tell you how you should live, how much money you should make. And while doing that, they're out making crazy money. They're looking for ways to have money and to get it for free. Look at what the Clintons did. Tell me what the Clintons have done to make them worth $200 million. Kevin, they give speeches. Okay, great. Look, I give speeches. I don't make a fraction of that. And I'll be honest with you, there's a number that I have in terms of my speech value. I'll take what you pay me. But I go, look, no matter how much my words mean something, they're not worth that. If I'm giving you something that where you can go make more money. For example, I teach you a manufacturing process. Maybe I would charge you $200,000 because I'm imparting knowledge that can effectively put me out of business or whatever. But if I'm just out there spewing out some words, honestly, I feel like, wow, I don't feel fortunate to get paid because it takes me time to put my words together. But there's a value to it that if I got over that, I would be like, man, I got over. Woohoo! Yeah. I got something for nothing. Because, I know how much time and energy I put into it. But not the left. They don't care. Bill Clinton, $500,000 for a speech. Would I take it? Dang, Skippy, I would. Would I think I'm worth it? Never. Nah. Not worth $500,000 for a speech. I may command it one day. But would I be technically worth it? No. You don't make speeches for that kind of money unless somebody's getting something from you. That's my belief. Anyway, I want to talk about the subject of terror and leftists because on the subject of terror, leftists need to shut the flunk up. They get the opportunity yet again because of this terror attack in New York to blame this attack on everything but their policies. Democrat, progressive, socialists, whatever you want to call yourselves, you morons, you are the cause of 8 people losing their lives, 12 people's lives being probably completely altered in ways we'll never know. And you just driven by you've driven by the wreck, looked in that you caused and looked in the rearview mirror and said, what happened? You're not fooling any of us. You've impacted the lives of 8 people and all the people associated with them. Their friends, their family, their children, their co-workers. And the left doesn't have to care. Unbelievable. Ushered in, the very terrorist who killed him, ushered in by a New York senator's program he introduced in 1990 called Diversity to make a country that is one of the most diverse on the planet, in the top 10, more diverse. I was in the green room at the studio preparing to go on Fox Business to discuss some other stupid issue created by dumb leftists when I got the news that this truck had mowed down the people in New York on a bike path. And my first thought was Muslim attack, Muslim terror attack. In fact, I knew the attack was carried out by some Muslim whack job. And I gave myself odds of about 100 to 1 that I was correct. And quite frankly, I knew, it was probably closer to 250, 500 to 1. I knew it would happen. The studio head of the, where I was in the green room, he comes in, he says, hey, Kev, they're going to cancel your segment. And I was like, yeah, looking at the TV, talking to producers, a guy named Michael that produced the show I was going to go on. So they canceled me on Fox Biz, called me up, apologetic. Kev, we're really sorry. I said, I get it, man. I get it. Later appearance I was going to have on Tucker got canceled too. And I was like, you know what? It happens. I've done it before. I had one instance where I was sitting in the chair and they were going to cancel. And they said to me, Kevin, can you cover this Muslim terror attack in Paris by Charlie Hebdo? And I said, sure. I know the area. I lived in Paris. Sure. I speak French. Let's do it. And they were like, really? Yeah, let's do it. So we did it. And it was one of the best segments I've had. I'll never forget it. Sitting in the chair. I don't know what I was going to talk about. I think I was going to be arguing with Juan Williams on some, again, stupid leftist issue. So in this particular situation, I didn't fight to get on the show because I figured, you know what, there are people closer to the New York situation. I'm not law enforcement, never have been. So they're going to get law enforcement. They're going to talk about, I know the conversations that take place in this. But I wish they'd kept me on for commentary. Because I would have said something like this. First of all, is anybody surprised to hear about another attack? Of course you're not. Secondly, let's all say it together. Allahu Akbar. Because we know this attack was done by a radical Muslim. Now, there have been a couple of instances where there were attacks and we didn't know, it turned out it wasn't what we thought it was. I profiled those earlier in the broadcast. But the majority of these are attacks by Muslims. And you know what's really interesting? The attacks you don't hear about. There's a bunch of them. Little one man, he killed a woman with a knife and things like this. I'm following this stuff closely. religionofpeace.com for those of you who want to. But you know what? The last time we talked, terror anyway, was it London? Was it Paris? Was it Miami? Who knows? Who cares? That's the way the left has conditioned us. We don't remember. We can remember the big ones. Oh, yeah, they were San Bernardino. Oh, yeah, they bombed the Boston Marathon. Oh, yeah, we got this big one that happened in Miami. And we'll remember this one for a little while. But I'm going to ask you, put them in chronological order. Tell me what the London attacks, the Paris attacks, Brussels, etc. And do you think you know where these attacks are occurring and at what frequency and things like this? Because I'm going to tell you, you don't know. Unless you're Bridget Gabrielle or Pamela Geller, you don't know. These attacks are happening all day, every day. Thousands per year. I heard somebody on TV the other day say, oh, this was the biggest terror attack we've had so far this year. And it was like 8 people killed or whatever. I don't think it was this one. It was another one. And I was thinking to myself, that's not the biggest terror attack that's happened so far. Not at all. He's only counting the ones in civilized nations. Anyway, we got to take a short break, folks. We'll be back to talk more about this.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's Kevin Jackson Radio Show, KJ Radio. We're also on Facebook under the Kevin Jackson Radio Show, I believe. Or you could look us up under the Black Sphere Radio Show, something like that. One or the other. You can find us if you want to. And Kurt Martin runs the radio program for me. Kurt's a star. Dude is a stud. And he's on top of it. And I got to tell you, I thank God for the good people that are involved with this. And I put this shout out every now and then to say, if you want to get involved with us in a way, and no matter how much you can contribute, the only thing we ask is, what are you good at and how much time can you give us? And then we will move forward. But would love to have you guys involved. We can't do this by ourselves. It takes a lot of time and energy. So we're talking about this situation in New York, brought on by leftism. Don't let them try to push this off on somebody else. Leftists created this situation in New York with terror. And it goes back even beyond Chuck Schumer in the 1990s. But that was the beginning when Chuck Schumer said, America needs more diversity. The most diverse country on the planet needs more diversity. We speak more languages. We have more religions. We have more culture than anywhere on the planet. And these guys say, well, you need to bring in some Papua New Guineans. Sorry, we got them. We got everybody. But I can name you many countries where they don't have diversity. They're not looking for more white folks. By the way, I tell white people this all the time. People act like y'all are the dominant race around the globe. You're not. People of color outnumber you. Something like 2-3 to 1. You know what? If I were white, I would be the most crazy white. They would go, man, he's a nationalist. Because I would be like, look at all these countries of color that nobody wants to go to. Y'all criticize the white man all the time. Then you come and you brown the country. We leave and go somewhere else and make it beautiful. And then y'all want to come running back to us. I would be talking smack like this daily. And it's funny because I know, like, there was a dude, he started something like white people's whatever. And I got after him because I don't think you should have to be talking about people in terms of color. But I get his point. He's like one of these white guys going, I'm sick of being the butt of the joke, or, you know, the mean-spirited boogeyman bad guy of everything. I'm not the guy hiding in the closet. I'm not the guy hiding under your bed. I'm not the boogeyman. So I get it. You know who's making these iconic cities around the world? Cities that used to be full of adventure, full of romance. When someone would talk about, you know, Kevin, let's meet in Bogota and let's go do blanky blank, or let's go meet in, you know, Lima, Peru, so we can go mountain, you know, backpacking, you know, in the Andes or whatever. It was a sense of adventure. Now you got to worry about, is there terrorists lurking in the jungle? You know, somebody wanting to kill me? In Africa, don't even go there. I got a friend, he hasn't been back to Africa. He's from Egypt. Been here since 1974. He says, last time he went back to Egypt was 1989. He said he went because his brother was kind of in with the government. So he would go to Egypt. His brother would pick him up, run interference for him because he's an Egyptian that refused to speak Arabic anymore. And he would go there and they'd say things like, why don't you speak Arabic? And he goes, why should I? I'm an American citizen now. And they were mad at him. He's totally Egyptian with a very, you know, Arabic accent. Why should I speak Egyptian? Why should I speak Arabic when I'm an American? Like that. And they're giving him grief to get into a country where he was born and raised. Anyway, his brother picked him up in 1989, but his brother died shortly thereafter. So he says, I've never had a reason to go back. I don't want to be hassled. He goes, I don't want to go back and have to, you know, figure out, you know, he's a Coptic Christian, by the way. He goes, I don't want to deal with any of the things that could potentially happen. He goes, I'm happy to be in America. He hates Obama. Hates him. He knew what Obama did to his country. But anyway, here's my point. Take all these great cities, London, Paris, Brussels, New York, whatever. You know what you have? You have a place where you got to watch your back. It's not about the adventure or the feeling that like going to New York. I remember the first time I went to New York, it was like, whoa, man, look. You know, I just this wide-eyed, bushy-tailed little country boy going, this is amazing. It's so cool. Not anymore. I go to New York. This is true. Y'all will think I'm lying. Last time I was in New York, I ate at the same restaurant 5 times. I walked from my hotel, boop, to the restaurant, boop, took it back, ate it 5 times. Lunch and dinner, lunch and dinner, lunch. And then I took off. I don't even adventure. I don't go out and go, oh, wow, this is really cool. Let's see what else is new here. Whatever. It's so it's such a typical liberal crap hole that you go, why bother? And then you got to watch your back. Told you that one time when something backfired in Times Square, pow, and time literally stood frozen for a second and a half. Everybody just, and then you saw the cop kind of look over, and it was a car that backfired. Never forget it. There was that commercial where everything froze just for that split second. Like the atomic clock stood still. Just weird stuff, man. Weird stuff. Prior to the attack in New York, there had been 1,751 global terror attacks in the name of Islam so far in 2017. 1,751. These attacks occurred in 57 countries in which 12,454 people were killed. 12,464 people were injured. Now you can add 8 more people killed and 12 more people injured. One more global terror attack. And you can bet that since the terror attack in New York yesterday, that there are additional terror attacks that have occurred around the world. In 2016, folks, there were 2,491 Islamic attacks in 59 countries. So you can see this is a good year for terror in terms of terror attacks. 2,491 in all of 2016, year to date, 1,751. So we're on a run rate of around 2,000. We might have a quarter less terror attacks than we did last year. And that's going to be a good year. In 2016, 21,261 people were killed in terror attacks, 26,722 injured. A good year, by the way, in comparison to 2015, where there were 2,884 Islamic terror attacks around the world in 53 countries, in which 27,600 plus people were killed. 26,000 and change were injured. Anybody think that leftists have any idea that there have been 7,127 global terror attacks by radical Muslims over the past 3 years? And in that time, over 50,000 people have been killed. I would love for someone to tell me what Christianity would be looked at if we had that kind of record of carnage. Think they could tell you the countries where these attacks have occurred? Think I could tell you what country where the most heinous loss of life occurred? For the record, the worst terror attack in 2017 was in Somalia. 358 people were killed, 429 injured when somebody strapped on, put some explosives in a truck and drove it into a market. A truck. Not killed by guns, people. See, the media only wants you to hear about terror when it occurs in civilized countries. They tell you of the attacks in Paris, Brussels, London, Miami, New York, but they won't tell you about the attacks that happen in Chad, Somalia, and various other places. You should see the list. It's daunting. I mentioned this before when I covered the decades of terror. 3 terror attacks in the 70s. In the 80s, 657 people were killed, 303 wounded in less than a dozen terror attacks around the country. In the 90s, 1,049 people killed, 757 people wounded in the entire decade of the 90s. And in 2017, we have 1,752 global terror attacks, and we've got thousands of people who have been killed. 12,000 plus so far this year killed and 12,000 injured, more than the entire decade of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s in a single year, and we're not even done with this year. Can you remember the first terror attack of this year from Esteban Santiago, a man who attacked the airport in Fort Lauderdale on behalf of ISIS? Because most Americans can't even name that. That's how terror has become. We just forget about it.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. I'm excited that you're here, and I know you're excited to be here because you could be anywhere, and you've chosen to be with me. I love you. Now let's spoon. Oh, my goodness. Hey, let me start off with a letter I got from a guy named Dennis, and it was regarding my appearance on Fox and Friends. It's coming up this weekend. He says, so looking forward to you co-hosting FNFs. He says, hope it all goes well. Would love to see you get your own show. Well, as long as you don't give up this gig. Dennis, I appreciate that. I don't plan on giving up this gig. I'm looking for sponsors and people willing to help me afford to continue to do this gig because we don't make any money in radio. Yeah, it's a dirty little secret. We don't make any money. I've been doing radio for 8 years. I have not made a nickel. In fact, we invest in doing radio. I want you to understand how much I love doing this. I talked to a radio exec years ago, and he said to me, he was interviewing me, Kevin, we're thinking about doing some things with the network, blah, blah, blah. He ended up moving, and that changed the whole dynamic. But he says, thinking about taking on the show. And we were talking, he's asking me about the show. Well, how much are you making? What do you mean, how much am I making? And he goes, that's what I mean. How much money? I go, we don't bring in anything. And he goes, what? I go, no. First of all, I don't have time to look for sponsors. I know that sounds bizarre, but I don't have time to look for sponsors. If you guys know of people who want to help radio, like they say, Kevin, I'll donate $20 a month to keep your show on the road or whatever, keep your show going. Send them our way. Because it's $20 we can give out to this team. Most of the people doing radio with me, they work in conjunction with me on other stuff, which allows them to spend a little more time doing radio. We don't make a nickel. We lose money every month doing radio. I swear this is a true story. So they go, you could get sponsors. We don't have time. What do people think we do? I get up, I have to do 4 or 5 hours of prep to do a 3-hour radio show, get ready to do Fox hits that sometimes come or don't come, have to prep for, we own Tea Party Community. We're doing that. I have to write. Do you know how much I write? I write 4 hours a day. I'm talking to a big publisher about doing my book. Do you think that's going to complicate things? Today, as a matter of fact, I take off for New York so that I can get ready to do, what am I doing tomorrow? Fox and Friends in the morning, outnumbered in the noon, and then I'm doing Fox and Friends on the weekend as a guest host. And all while that's going on, do you think that somebody's writing for me or promoting my social media or doing the next project we're going to do with the Bleeding Blue movie or talking to my publisher or my PR people or trying to figure out where I'm going to speak at next, writing my next speech, you name it? We are swamped over here and underfunded. And yet every day I get, you know what I am to you guys, honestly? I'm like that dude who you're mad at. So he's not getting any loving. You don't even speak to him during the day. And in the morning, he gets up and brings home the bacon. There's food to be cooked. It's in the refrigerator. The kid has to go to soccer practice. You got to pay for little Johnny's shoes. There's old Kev, but you don't have to say a word to him because he gets up every day and does it. How many frustrated people are there in this country that feel that way? That understand that the lights aren't just magically on in your house. The gas doesn't magically appear in your car. It's there. This show magically appears every single day. And you know what people will tell me? You're a sellout. You're making all that money. I don't make a nickel. That's why I can be so brazen. That's why I can say to any PD, anybody on this station, I don't give a crap. Now, I don't say that often, because I understand their jobs depend on it. They have my show on. They've made an investment in Kevin Jackson. And you know what? I respect them to such a degree that I still get up on days when I'm exhausted. It doesn't matter what's gone on in my life. I could have had a sick kid. I could have been to an engagement party. I could have broken my leg. I could be going through all kinds of stuff. Things that you don't know about. I have a major physical issues with my shoulders right now, and I couldn't talk the other day. And I could go on about all the problems plaguing Kevin Jackson, and I'm never going to be like, oh, woe is me, woe is me. I got Brett helping me out on Fridays because we're so busy with other things. I got to play catch up. So he's temporarily agreed to help with that. I'm just telling you, we don't make a nickel. So if you know somebody and that person says, I love this guy, I want to be a benefactor, I don't care whether I make a nickel or whatever, do it. When we had sponsors, I had to get rid of them because of the contracts we did with the new radio group. But when we had sponsors, and I would say to those guys, look, you measure how well we're doing, what the dollars that come into you, and you pay us what you think is fair. That was the deal we cut with them. And at that point, we were at break even. We broke even. When we had to get rid of the sponsors to get on satellite with this new network because of their contractual agreements, we went to losing money. And since the moment that's happened, I think we've been on 4 or 5 months. Since the moment that's happened, we've lost thousands of dollars every month doing radio. And I still come on here and I talk to you. And I don't lament it. I don't go, oh man, you people are mean. You do me something. We don't beg you for anything. If you want to help, you help. I want you to help. I know there are people that listen to this show that got money to burn, man. You know what? Send me a note. Say, Kev, what can I do to help? We'll get you the details and you can help. We have lots of people that help with our projects. I have a guy that's going to finance a radio project where we call black radio stations and essentially cause a stir. He says, I'll finance that project. I won't make a nickel because that's not what we do. We put the money back into things that are going to move the needle for you. That's our job. And that's why I believe God shows grace to me. I tell you guys, Kevin, you got to be concerned about your life. I go, I'm not concerned about my life. Not at all. Not a bit. The moment when their last lung leaves my body, man, I'm just saying, hey, Father, I'm coming up to heaven. Please forgive me for all the sins I may have forgotten. But my heart is pure. I love you. I loved everything that I did that was good in this world. And I regret all the things that I did that did not exalt you and the mission you put me on this earth for. But take me home. I'm cool. And I don't think God has a plan right now to do that because he sees what I'm doing and he knows my heart. That's why he's put the right people in front of me at the right time. That's why I don't worry about this stuff. People ask me, Kevin, are you nervous about doing Fox and Friends? No, because I'm not going up there interviewing for a job. Fox and Friends, will y'all please hire me? Oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to do what I do. And that's why you will see Kevin Jackson on Fox and Friends within the confines of what I can do based on the FCC and the Fox brand. But you'll see me. You're not going to see a facsimile. We got a lot to talk about today. Thanks for the note, Dennis. Back in a bit.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson there. 844-551-8255 if you want to call us. KJRadio.com. On Facebook, we got up the other morning. My social media guy, Kirk, says to me, Kevin, our page is gone. So I go to theblacksphere.net and I go, dude, our page is there. And then I start poking around on Facebook and there's this note that says, page not here or something like that. And I was like, what? So then it dawns on me, Kurt's telling me my Facebook page is gone. 560,000 something people. We're losing 20 people a day on Facebook. Are you aware of this? I am a national figure. I don't say that braggingly, but I'm a national figure who writes all the time, is on multiple radio shows, has my own show, and Facebook has me losing 20 people a day. I used to have 5,000 people a day who joined my site. Now I lose 20 people per day. And I'm talking about posting, engaging, you name it. So we get up, the page is gone. I'm livid. What did we violate? I got nothing in the email, nothing that said I violated anything. So I call my web guys. I say, what the heck's going on? They go, this is unusual, Kev. I'm like, really? He says, so he gets on the phone with Facebook and the girl goes, oh, geez, I'm not sure. Have you checked mobile? So we check mobile. The page is still up. Now I'm still getting other indicators. It doesn't seem like I'm dead, but you can't get to my page. People are sending me notes on other mediums going, Kevin, we can't get to you. What's going on with your page? What's up? And I'm just, I'm not panicked, but I'm like, well, this is crazy. So my guy says, yeah, I'm on the phone with Facebook right now, and they find it unusual. Their system shows that you're still on. And I'm like, well, see, there's part of the problem. I'm shadow banned to the point where Facebook doesn't even know that my page is gone. And I've been asking, why am I not at 5 million? I know Alan West is a popular guy, but I'm pretty doggone popular. And I don't have the number of people Alan has. And even if I had 60%, I'd be at 3 million. Why is it that at the rate I was growing, I should be at 3.5 to 4 million easy on Facebook? And I'm at 560,000, losing 20 people per day. That's crazy. So they get me reinstated. But here's why I'm telling you guys this. If you want to keep up with me, you will have two choices. One, you go directly to the blacksphere.net or KJ Radio, or you join me at Tea Party Community, which is going to be my social media network where my page will not disappear. Because let me tell you something. Google and Facebook have a cabal. They control 75% of the ad revenue that guys like me produce in order to fund ourselves. That's why I lose money at radio, because I can make it up elsewhere. But they give us toe fungus and leeches and all this crazy stuff that you look at on our pages and go, who in the world would possibly want this crap? And it's barely paying the bills. But you go look at some leftist hate site and they've got Lexuses and vacations with Caribbean this or that, cruise lines and what have you. It's obvious what they're doing. They are trying to economically chase us out of business. And their whole model is failing because you know why? We are the people who buy stuff. One of my friends is trying to start a network that he could do. I said, man, just start a network, because he says, Kevin, the other 25% is owned with somebody worse than Google, another leftist group. It's 100% controlled by leftists. They don't like what you say. They don't let you monetize. So I said, why can't you call Hobby Lobby? Why can't you call Chick-fil-A? A few other, very conservative companies, and say, look, we will run your ads throughout our network. Start there, and then let's go find others. We got to start solving our problems, folks, not just, talking about them and lamenting about them. I've known Facebook's been trying to crush me. I don't come on here and complain every day. We have tried workarounds upon workarounds, and we hold our own. And I've watched other people, they do all kinds of crazy stuff, clickbait and whatever, and they make crazy money. We don't do that. We're going to give you what we think works the best for you. I believe in you as the consumer, that you'll make the right choices. But we can't do it by ourselves. We need help. Anyway, I just want to give you an idea of what's going on. Waking up and finding out that years of effort could be gone in an instant. If you want to be able to reach out to me and have high touch with me, you got to go to Tea Party Community, you got to go to KJ Radio, and you got to let other people know. Because one of these days, that page could be gone. I mean, I'm going to die one day, and the page is going to go. But the company and the legacy will live on, because people will still run things in that respect. But to watch a lot of work, a body of work go because somebody arbitrarily says, I don't like what you're saying, I think is un-American to the height. That's why Facebook and Twitter and Google find themselves on Capitol Hill having to ask tough questions. And I hope during the time of Obama, oh God, forgive me for that, the time of Trump, that somebody sues all these guys and takes them to court and makes them have to pay outrageous amounts of money for the things that they do. That's what needs to happen. Hey, how about those Muslims? Do they know how to throw a Halloween party or what? Man, woo, New York must be really happy that they've integrated all these non-radical Muslims that can no longer be surveilled in their mosque and all that other stuff into the whole culture of it all, right? Yeah, that's what you should be asking these people. You should be asking leftists the tough questions. Kids were getting ready to go. New Yorkers were getting ready to celebrate Halloween in whatever form you like. I did it. Went out, trick-or-treating around here with my son, family. And we didn't have any incidents, but New York did. New York had a guy that decided he's going to run over a bunch of people, and leftists they say Donald Trump wants to politicize the attack. Really? So before the attack, when Donald Trump said, I want to issue an executive order that prevents Muslims from bad countries from coming in, was that politicizing the attack? Or was that doing what he is supposed to do constitutionally, which is to protect American citizens from all enemies, foreign and domestic? Because that's the way I read it. You guys remember what Chuck Schumer said about Trump? We'll play it in a bit. When he did the EO executive order. How dare Trump not let this crisis go to waste? That's what I'd be saying. Look, Donald Trump isn't seeing this as a crisis. He isn't looking at this through the prism of Barack Obama and the leftist ilk. He sees this as a problem. This is a recurring problem. See, business people look at recurring problems and say, how do I stop them from recurring? They look at it pragmatically. Donald Trump doesn't see this as Muslims versus Americans. He sees terrorists versus America. And as he digs deeper into the problem, he sees that the majority of these terrorists happen to be Muslims. Cuomo mentions gun control when guns weren't even used except to stop the Muslims. That little crow tasted pretty bad, I bet you. And there was de Blasio right next to him, calling a press conference so they could beat up on Donald Trump, the president of the United States, who is saying, I've been trying to tell you guys we need to protect ourselves from radical Islam. And they're saying he's politicizing it. Because that's how the left looks at things. When you try to do things right, it's politics.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Get of order. Was mean-spirited and un-American. It was implemented in a way that created chaos and confusion across the country, and it will only serve to embolden and inspire those around the globe who will do us harm.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. That was Chuck Schumer crying like a baby when Donald Trump issued an executive order saying that he wanted to essentially reinstitute the very same executive order, travel ban from Muslim countries that Barack Obama did. And Schumer gets up there and cries about it. And it's a theatrical performance. Like I told you, DC is Hollywood for ugly people. Chuck wanted an Oscar. He wanted Hollywood to recognize. Invite me to the next party so we can talk about how you were so moving. You remember that scene you did where you cried? After Donald Trump did the same thing Barack Obama did, but in that scene you conjured up the tears and you cried. Oh my goodness. Chuck, it was so believable. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks, Ashley. Maybe you could put me in one of your films. It's all contrived. It's sad to believe that we live in a country that is so great as this. And when legislators get together, particularly on the left, They get together to scheme. To scheme. How do we fool you into believing something, into believing the believable? How do we get you to commit to some crazy way of thinking that nobody else would commit? How do we convince you to like Obamacare when we know it's bad for you? Jerry Hudson of the SEIU, how do we convince black people, white union members to go along? I can convince blacks. They're stupid. That's what Jerry Hudson essentially said. But it's the white people I got to get. When the left conspires to win over middle-class white America, it isn't with policy. It's with trickery. What can I say to you to make you believe that I'm really not favoring blacks and Hispanics and Muslims and women and gays over you, white men? Oh, and white conservative women. When I speak of feminism and paying for birth control and how bad men are, and that you don't believe that, how can I make you believe that without really making it seem like I don't really like you? That's what this is all about. It's about tricking people into believing in a crazy ideology that makes no sense. It doesn't make sense on paper. It doesn't make sense in reality. Oh, yeah, so let's let people in, thwarting a legal system. It isn't like America hates foreigners, but they tell you we do. Oh, you're xenophobic. You hate other cultures. You hate other people that are coming from other countries. No, far from it. Show me a conservative who goes, oh man, they let people, dang it, what's with all these foreigners? What's with all these Guatemalans? What's with all these Panamanians? What's with all these Puerto Ricans? What's with all these Scandinavians coming here? We embrace it. We love it. We hang out with them. We go to party. Oh, you remember Sven? Yeah, that tall white dude with the blue eyes and the blonde hair, good looking dude, look like Dolph Lundgren. Yeah, him. You know he's gay. What? I didn't even know. Jeez. You never know, huh? That's the kind of stuff we say. But we're happy that they're here. And when you meet one, you know who really gets enthused when we meet somebody from another country or whatever? Us, conservatives. We're like, really, man? So tell me, what's it like? If you haven't been to the country, even if you've been, you might go, man, I was over there, like, I don't know, it's been like 20 years. Things change? Oh, it's very, very different than when you were there, Kevin. It's amazing, man. Talked to a guy the other day. He's from New Zealand. Kiwi. I made him mad. I accused him of being Australian. He hadn't said enough for me to check the accent. But, yeah, I'm talking to the guy, and I'm curious about his culture. He's a woodworker. Takes wood and makes beautiful things from it. I go, man, how long have you been doing that? He goes, well, Kevin, I go back into it. He's Australian. He's a Kiwi. See, I keep calling him Australian. His New Zealander accent. He's like, yeah, got back into it, about 3 years ago, started doing the blah, 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 and everything. And I learned, he goes, oh, I did it as a child. And he goes, and then I did it, and then, I started travel the world for a bit, Then I moved to the United States, got married, blah, blah, blah. And now I got into it, man. I'm pretty good at it. I got a website and all that, It's like, wow, cool. I want to go see your work. I was at his house. All the wood. You go there, you're like, man, you got some wood. He's like, yeah, I just came back from the Midwest, man. Got a bunch of new wood, got some wood, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I saw some beautiful burl out there. He's like, yeah, got lucky there. It's like, wow. Tell me about it. Can I come watch you work? Sure. I'll make you something. I'm fascinated. You're fascinated. We are far from not liking these people. We want to go over and check out their culture, see what they're about. And we love it when we go to Chinatown or we go to Little Italy or the Hill in St. Louis or wherever. Bosnian town, Ethiopian town. We love it. We love the culture of it. But you know what we love best? When they have that culture and it's integrated into America. Not separated, not segregated. What the left does is they got Ethiopia town and they say, put an Ethiopian in charge. And then let's make their politics the politics of Ethiopians, not the politics of Americans. That's what they do. That's what they've allowed every culture to come into America to do. Come here, be who you want to be. To heck with what America wants of you. We don't care. Your culture was so good you left it and you came here. Why shouldn't we, capitulate to you instead of the other way around? Why not? Sure. Makes sense to me. Allahu Akbar. Famous last words. You hear those words, boy, you better be hitting the deck. And make sure it's not a truck coming. You know what that means? What it's translated? It means God is greatest. Allahu Akbar. Great saying. Innocuous. You hear somebody say in their religion, in their tongue, Allahu Akbar, God is greatest. The normal thing would be, you're right, God is great, man. We say it all the time. Black people say, when we talk to each other on the phone, we be like, God is good. And you know what black people say after that? I'm going to help you white folks. When you hear some black person say God is good, you say all the time. And then black people know you know something. They know you're part of the, the clique. Yeah, I'm telling my boys here, they're looking at me like, yeah, when I say God is good, y'all know what to say, right? All the time. Yeah. And you can't go like all the time. No, God is good all the time. All the time. Yeah. These guys are cracking me up because they know how to say it. Because that's what we say around here. God is good all the time. And you will get a smile from a black person when you say that because they'll know you hanging around black folks. God is good all the time. Mm-hmm. Like Billy D. Williams. Like I got a Colt 45 in my hand. God is good all the time. Take a drink. Oh, man. Excuse me. But look, can you imagine in the Middle East if every time a Christian said God is good and we blew up people? We started mowing them down, running over them, shooting them, knifing them. God is good. Oh, go everybody run, run. What would the left say if that's what we did? Would they come out and make excuses for our religion? Oh, everybody in Christianity is not like that. It's only a small group of these Christians that are doing that. Look, they looked for one Tea Party racist for years. They condemned the entire movement because they were looking for one Tea Party racist. Can you imagine if the conservative movement, the Confederate flag wearers were to go out and do a fraction of what the Muslims do on a daily basis? I gave you the numbers. What would these fools say? Would they be protecting us? Shoot. I mean, we're good folks. We're the people that keep our kids out of jail, keep our daughters out of strip clubs, our sons out of them as well, right? And these people act like we're pariahs. They act like we are the scourge of the earth. You can trust us. We're the ones that'll stop you on the road and help you. They're the ones that'll shoot you and take your wallet and take your car when you do that. But they say we're the bad guys. Our moral compass bothers them to such a degree they want to give us no credit whatsoever. They don't credit us for how good our kids are. They don't credit us for our businesses. They don't credit us for being the moral compass of this country. They can't stand us. And they would rather have somebody yelling Allahu Akbar and killing people on Halloween, a celebratory night.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
The administration will no longer fund ineffective programs run by the UN, instead sending money to groups directly through the U.S. Agency for International Development. This is welcome news to informal Trump advisor and pastor Johnny Moore.
We've lost 80% of Christians in Iraq, 50% of Christians in Syria. We've lost 99% of Christians in Turkey in a generation and a half.
The Center for the Study of Global Christianity estimates that 900,000 Christians were martyred between the years 2005 to 2015, or 90,000 Christians on average each year. Moore, whose new book, The Martyr's Oath, describes modern-day persecution of Christians, says that ISIS has inspired an escalation in the killings of Christians.
But what ISIS has done is they have inspired thousands of more terrorists to do the same. And so while ISIS is being eliminated in Iraq and Syria, ISIS-type persecution against Christians is expanding in places like Nigeria, in Somalia, and Libya, and in Egypt. Just a few days ago in Egypt, we had a priest in broad daylight knifed to death in the streets.
However, the biggest threat to Christians, according to Moore, is not ISIS, but authoritarian dictatorships.
North Korea has 70,000 Christians in prison.
According to a list generated by Open Doors USA, North Korea ranks at the top for extreme persecution of Christians, but the Middle East accounts for the majority of the countries. However, Moore is hopeful that new measures by the Trump administration will change these figures.
What I've seen, day in and day out, working with the White House in various ways, working on policies to help ensure that American humanitarian assistance actually goes to rebuilding these communities in Iraq and Syria. It's a world of difference.
Moore says this is a big departure from the policy of the previous administration.
In the height of the crisis, despite the fact that Christians and Yazidis and other religious minorities were the ones being chiefly targeted by ISIS, they were the groups being most discriminated against in our own resettlement policies. President Obama, his administration, wouldn't grant a visa to an Iraqi nun who was petitioned by Congress to come testify about the atrocities that she had witnessed because she was Christian.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. We're under attack is what it amounts to. We're under attack. Christianity's under attack. The American way of life is under attack. Judeo-Christian values under attack. Protestants, Catholics under attack. But who's not under attack? It is Islam. And Islam should be under attack because it's an ideology. It's not a religion. We're treating it like a religion. We're giving it special treatment. And I've asked many times, show me a religion that could do what Islam does and people not be outraged, and I'll condemn it as well. Buddhism doesn't do it. Catholics don't do it. None of the Protestant religions that do it. Wiccan doesn't do it. The Jews don't do it. The only people killing people willy-nilly are Islamic, and they call them radicals, but there's a lot of them. Killing people willy-nilly for no reason. And their stated goal is to take over the world religiously, to make the world a theocracy. Anybody who's non-Muslim is an infidel, and they've written rules into their book, the Quran, worthless as toilet paper, that essentially say if the people don't follow this religion, then they're infidels, they're dogs, they're worse than animals, and you can do what you want with them. What group writes that into their religion and wants to be considered a religion, wants us to get along with them? You would think that we'd be smart enough to say, hey, you know what? At the very least, take that out of your religion and maybe we could all have a conversation. Oh, Kevin, we can't have them changing their religious book. That's their religion. Really? Oh, geez, far be it from me to say, look, I don't buy into your religion when you're talking about killing me. I'm not going to have a conversation with somebody when I know that the only thing they have is malice in their heart for me. I'm not going to talk to you. You get yourself right, and then we can have a conversation. Fix your book. You know how many Muslims were killed in New York City on Halloween? None. New York City attacker, they say, Sayfullah, planned this attack for weeks. I got a question for you. How many others are planning their next attacks? ISIS people, they say, got news of the attack. And while we see footage of this stuff we see it as an insult, a tragedy. How could this possibly happen? We know how it happens. It happens because of liberals. But we see it and we're appalled. They see it and they celebrate. By the way, these are the people that celebrate right here in the United States that the left told us Donald Trump lied about. How could they possibly be celebrating? It's unbelievable. Celebrating. He's a new hero to the cause. And leftists know how they operate. But do you think any of these people are going to condemn this religion? They'll condemn the act. They talk about lone wolves and all this. The guy left a calling card that said ISIS, and these people, it was a lone wolf. That's what Cuomo said. The governor of New York. Well, yet another lone wolf thing. They're all talking lone wolves and guns. They're so used to saying the same things, they can't even get it out of their system. I tell this story because it's a funny story. An acquaintance of mine, Maurice Smith, he's a kickboxer. And all the guys were dominating mixed martial arts, the UFC stuff, were grapplers, Gracie-trained jiu-jitsu artists. And I kept telling people, as soon as a good kicker gets in there and can fight and stop from getting on the ground, you're going to see the whole sport change quite a bit. Well, Maurice Smith, former PKA karate guy, a lot of us know him, and Maurice is a kicker, man. The dude can fight. So he's keeping this guy from getting him on the ground. And it goes about 2 rounds. Maurice throws a spin kick, boop, hits this guy in the face, and knocks him out on his feet. You ever heard of that saying, knocked out on your feet? This guy's knocked out on his feet. He was so used to winning that the referee went to break, to get in there, so Maurice couldn't hit him again. And he jumps in front of the guy whose eyes are still open, but he's a zombie. And he sees the referee jump in front of him so Maurice doesn't hit him again. And the guy raises his hand. Like, I won. Muscle memory. Because he had never lost. They quit kicking him. In jiu-jitsu, they only train for the grapple. A little bit of kicking, I'm going to get you on the ground, and that's going to be the end of the fight. Well, guess what? People got to the point where you could no longer take them down. Well, that's what it is with these guys in the media and then on the left. They're so used to going, gun control, and they walk around like zombies. And they go, but Mayor Cuomo, they didn't use a gun. Gun control, gun control, guns. It's the guns. And they're going, he's out. And the referee's in front. Go, he's out. Don't hit him anymore. Because that's the way they are. Don't blame the Muslims. Okay, then who do we blame? Please tell me, who do we blame? It's your fault. Be more sensitive. I saw an article and it said Muslims now concern themselves with the backlash that will occur from this latest attack. What happened with the backlash from the previous attack? What happened to the backlash from the previous attack before that attack? What happened to the backlash before the previous attack of that attack? They keep telling us there's going to be a backlash, and there is no backlash. Are mosques being burned? Are Muslims being deported or put into concentration camps? No, we continue to put up with this nonsense. And Muslims, we are appalled. This is not happening. It should not happen until it happens again. And we will come back, and we will raise our arms again in victory and go, whoa, gun control. Don't be mad at the Muslims. Please don't be mad at the Muslims. As they walk around like zombies in the ring, having gotten their butts kicked, because you know what? We're right. As sad as it is to say, we're right. I feel bad for them. Because you know what? The majority of them probably don't want us dead or care. They just want to be able to make, themselves a living or good culture somewhere. And they probably want to really live in a peaceful culture where they can do what they want to do and, pursue life the way our Constitution allows. It isn't us that's preventing that. It's them. The problem with Muslims is once they get a certain number, they become their own worst enemies. You want to know why? Same reason why black folks have become our own worst enemies. We congregate, We think, you know what, we can build a culture, we can do some things, we can have, this esprit de corps within the black community and feel good about ourselves. It doesn't mean we don't like other people, etc. And then you know what they do? They put somebody like an Al Sharpton or a Maxine Waters or a Sheila Jackson Lee or April Wilson, somebody in charge of them that doesn't give a crap, and then they become race-baiting, ethnocentric racist.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.